used to. Turns out was a student of Star's at one point. She's I used to know her as a Long Island-based poet. She put on events in Bay Shore and the South Shore, Babylon, one of these theaters that was converted and turned into like a shishi sort of a theater, and she was putting on poetry events there, and she invited me to read at that. That was fun. But Michelle always had a New York City presence, and maintains that New York City presence to this day. We published her a couple times. I'm with Great Whittaker Media publication, publishing house in New York City. We published some of her books before. She was the author of a book with a wonderful scholarship, which was awarded in 2018 Next Generation Indie Book Award. She was a powerful reader. I think it was Serge. We had a book party for it at a jazz club in Stony Brook. But she invited a few people to read from the book, which I think is a cool idea. You know, you have a book party, and so you invite some people to read your work, from the book, and I got a chance to do that. So I learned the inside and the outside of her work by doing that. She claims that she writes, or she did write, at the Queen's Room Cafe in Astoria, and I don't know if that's still the case, but we're going to find out. But very fine poet, Michelle Whittaker.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
I'm going to pull this down.
Yeah.
It's really great to be here. It's been a while. Craig and I that's my husband Craig, and we took a trip out here maybe about a month or so ago. He's new to the island still. He's from Maryland area. And I have a lot of nostalgia here from going to school, studying with my wonderful mentor and teacher, Star. We stay in touch, we FaceTime a lot, we talk about life, and I love it, and I love her.
Nice.
And same with George. I met before Star in the Long Island, and he was so welcoming. I was kind of a closet poet, and he ran a bunch of events and just was like, come on down, and made everybody who I've met feel very welcome and be able to participate, and I love him too. I've known him a long time. And I think it's partly why, getting involved with poets. I'm a musician, or I was a musician, or taught music for a long time. But I found that I was writing all the time on the highway, like places I should not have been writing. So, that's why I ended up, studying, and now I teach it. George has asked me to read the poem that he so graciously accepted, and a few poems. So that's what I'll do. Okay. I'll start with. Actually, I'll leave the anthology poem last and get the harder poems done. The first poem it's just about going on a date in my 20s. I'm not in my 20s. I'm in my 40s now. So. No title yet. He brought us to the shoreline of Lake Erie, to the land of northern pikes rendering themselves dormant inside shattered ice and snow. He brought aged Wonder Bread for the gulls. And when he aired Bashu's haiku, the birds went missing, except for a few feathers down spinning from the swift movements of a brown striped osprey. maneuvering above us. And when we went to search the barren parking lot for the nestlings, he brought us plastic Solo cups for the boxed wine, before offering me candy and crumbs. After watching him oust them from his beard, the showgirl in me turned to new frequencies, tempered like how my grandmother insisted, try again the Jamaican sorrel I named sour. And so I read to him a few Wendell Berry poems until we acted tired from the expiring light, or until we could no longer feel the stretched miles sheepish at the splint edges of each other's blunt stares, or until we finally sampled the other's upper core against the frozen sand. On a white-knuckled hill, reshaped like the wing of a black-veined butterfly, and when blood stopped inside a cave in his face, and for no reason wholly, evidence of connectedness laid a supine body over mine, and what came heaving was starving in so many forms. I'm just going to read the opening poem of Surge. It's a partial cento. Cento is a poem that's really should be about 100 lines. It's not 100 lines. It's a partial cento of just favorite poets and some of my own lines mixed in there. So that's why it's partial. It's called A Partial Cento of Visible Light. Star has a line in there, which is within the walls of white perfusions. So, when we met in secret, beyond swamp and scrubland, marriage has teeth, the priest said, tentative. But you and I are seasoned lovers, khaki rifles and uniforms within the walls' white perfusions. I see you wait, as I have for an angel we had it like to begin with, to emerge with hammers and ladders. Do you remember my brother's wedding? I could have done a Joan of Arc as the last breath lodged in a man's throat, if I had left for Venezuela with you. But after too many bottles of white rum, I knew you were on a moving boat learning how to lose yourself. And it would be discussed for weeks after, as if you were the young man with a nail in his foot, like a shell-marked souvenir on the shelf. But don't quote me. This is all I really know. Here I am now, without you, looking around the bedroom with its mix of sex and sleep. A white tricycle, missing both pedals, nestles in me for no apparent reason. Dead white, wax white, cold, head tilted over the board, like a reverence for the law of gravity, and having owned it for so long as a daughter without children, seeing the light, forming, seeing. Okay, so then, there's the breakup. There's the date, there's the trying to work it out, and now here's the breakup. On the last day of becoming us, we were dead thistles, but we pinched back. We were warped, but we were barbed. We had our playtime, but we spangled blood. We were carapaces, but fermenting faith. We followed an eviction, but I'll admit I was afraid. We were internal war, but plucked guitars. So what if we broke the soft bones from yield signs? We were dirty nail beds swabbed with moonshine. We were matted water, but lumbered tongues. Isn't this romantic? We were grown here like invasive cathedrals. We ripped up Rembrandt's light, last seen in our photos. We were chapel ceilings of indolent beliefs. We were crucifixes lost between breasts. We were landmark years, but milliseconds, hunting for a haven by pretending we were centipedes hiding in pillow shams. Even if we did not admit our exposed nerves, we both knew deep in the proximity of suffering alone, we were glory thieves for each other's power. It's nice to be in good company. And then this poem, before I read the anthology poem, is, I don't know, it's just self-explanatory, I think. But I will say I went through a difficult time. I'm still going through it, and Star was there for me. So it's called Partial Life Review, after Marie Howe. It was like the moment when a rare pine warbler flew over the highway lane just before entering those shelf clouds in the near distance. Just before you saw this wall of rain leaving inches of itself further down the road before hydroplanking disturbances. And for a moment, you felt this deluge as a divine sanction, or a sweet suspicion, like how the over-arousal of when a hatchback's tires and brakes disagree as a steering committee. And very much like when you kept checking for headlights in your rearview mirror, when for a moment you're offered clarity about why your partner paints bamboo shoots over and over, and when you don't have the heart to answer when asked again if this time looks like the real thing, when no, the nature of it looks to me like cancer. Okay, and then the poem in anthology. It's this poem I've read to music, so I always hear a little bit in my head. And I'm happy that George took it. It's a little different, but it's called Blue Banshee. She said she's a banshee in her tie-dye dancing sheet, flavored with salt and cockles. She said it's her favorite moo-moo. Water spouting, hula hooping, acorns breaking at the feet, stomping out the cherries, loading up those grapes, peach snapped off with wine water weight. She's off with her head, tossing her hair, that of Miss Mary Mack, with skin most black down her back. Breaking men with moves of rubber bullets on the shard-like grass, blessing silver tins while kicking empty beer mugs at them shih tzus, barking at the shaman drummers. Banshee screams, put down your automatics, put down your automatics. Banshee screams the Union Square, as if she's troubled, as if she's a dreamer on the make. She said, go ahead like David Amram. Binge, flutter, tongue, scatter, fluster, wag the dog, wag the laurel. You can't pull off my Bahamas, mama. She said she's losing herself while loosening themselves, smashing against the world, not as snapperlicious or as Band-Aid kitsch, but in protest. She said we gotta protect others' needs, her needs, them needs, while raiding through our vanities. Banshee said she's untired, like off a high-rise, no longer wondering why the police can't touch her, won't zip-lock this barricade because she has them in a trance, dancing in her banshee dance. Thank you.
Well, one of those we lost recently, and those of you here in the Hamptons will know this very well. It's the loss of Simon Porchak. Simon Porchak was a mainstay of publishing poetry, a lawyer out here, but he was in the city all the time. He had thousands of poems published in small presses, everyone without a title, just asterisk. He's very particular about that. And we had long, really, almost philosophical questions about why are we doing this? Simon said, why are we doing this? It's because of gatherings like these. So I'm going to read this poem with more silent portions. Behind the first chill, face down, he lowered the shade halfway, as if the window itself had died, from letting the bedroom do what it does best, darken. And though the walls are hollow, they have no use for your fingers. Already around what once was the ripcord, yanked by the instant that never let go, so knights could gather in a group to stop their descent in time. The way this glass sheet rises, the way this glass sheet tries to hide itself from the ground, be seen only as the emptiness. Side by side, pressing against you, half windshield, half want to die alone and still missing. Cyprochic. Nicole Santa Lucia, I met her in Binghamton. She teaches Shippensburg State or something like that, but you'll see where she came from when you hear this poem. The cannoli machine at the Brooklyn Detention Center. The cannoli machine in the Brooklyn Detention Center is for the visitors. My dad waited in line when he went to visit my brother. He didn't know he'd have to empty his pockets, take off his pinky ring, untie his shoes. This is the first time I saw my father afraid. But he wasn't too afraid to stand in line with all the other fathers in front of the cannoli machine. He ain't too afraid. And noticed the little white cream filling on his cheek when he saw himself on the surveillance camera. He noticed that his white t-shirt was washed too many times and was starting to turn gray. His socks didn't match. I didn't know. This was how fathers are made. It calls him to the sea. Andrei Kudrescu. You know him, of course, from NPR, Louisiana State, Romanian American. He lives in Brooklyn now, the city. And this is one of the only poems that really are about, that have something to do with the pandemic. And, it is pandemic. Andrei Kudrescu. In August 2020, birds got fat. They started turning back into dinosaurs. They didn't miss people. Rats, on the other hand, missed restaurants. The better ones were viewed in the Times. So many rat snobs in the infernal month of August 2020. The birds and the rats compete for the future. We humans develop a dream life that features either wings or fur in the morning. We shower, put on work clothes, walk into the next room, work on self-erasure. Day and night mean little now. We're shaking the jelly cube of time. At night, me and my friend jump over walls after putting phosphorus on our hands. We escape from people. We meet a masked subway rat named Henna. At night on the Bowery, we discuss astrophysics. Sometimes we roll a ball of dark energy on the rails of an empty train, and then lie down somewhere in the city. Drink a whiskey. Miguel Algari, one of the founders of the Whittaker Cafe, also left us recently. The world is beautiful. Seek it, trust it, move towards balance, yield to its harmony, its peace, its pleasure, sublime sublimity, above the highest, on a par with God, the highest power, or the self alone, looking for perfection. Hold fast. Don't hold open senses to all input. Leave room for fast forward. Take advantage of roots sown as a child in this very neighborhood, in this small island, in this Lower Saida, in this tiny corner of the world, of the globe, of the planet. Plan your entrance into heaven, into God's garden, into this ghetto of gold and silver flowers. Soon will you see the whole self, not part, but its eternity. And I'll conclude with this poem by Cornelius. It's actually, when people pick out a poem, it's one of the ones they most often pick out to read when they're coming to reading this. I don't want to read somebody else's poem. I read this one by Cornelius. A lot of hope in this poem. The ballet called John the Baptist. And then I'll conclude after this, so thank you for your attention to this. Ballad called John the Baptist. A man walking down some street at dusk spies a woman dancing for coins. He stops to watch from a distance. The woman struts like a rooster. She tosses her head back and howls like a cat. He moves closer. The sun catches the faces of the observers. Everyone is dressed in tatters. Everyone stoops as if born in a small town. The woman steams like a Thanksgiving dinner. One man beats time with a stick on a junked car. Another wipes away tears with a caked and cynical hand. They forget everything as the city goes on about its business, as they circle each other. Beside himself, the man leaps into the center of the ring and begins to dance. He shakes as if he has just been dipped in a cold river, and he laughs. The woman laughs. The men in the circle laugh until they no longer fit in the world.
Wow.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Star. Listen, I just want to say this collection has such a wonderful, diverse voices in it. I really urge you to pick one up at the store, right by the desk there where Heidi is. A number of people have been in the store and read over the years at Hirsch, Julie Sheehan, Bill Zavatsky, Eileen Miles, and many, many more. So, anyway, thank you, great poets. Thank you, Star. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, George, for being together, for bringing great poetry into the room. It's always very moving to be able to do that. And while you might not make any money, you provide great riches for us. So keep at it, keep at it, keep at it. Thank you all, and thanks for everybody wearing masks. We appreciate it. Grazie. Lovely.
Well, what a wonderful connection.
You are both, you are all. It's really, really good to hear.
That was great.
And I was really wanted to hear you do
Are you living out?
that.
Are you living out here? No, you're back and forth.
That's very music.
Yeah.
So much because I was in Oakland. So I'm
Yeah,
just,
I remember.
so perfect. That's good.
Well, I'm going to the city a little bit, not as much.
You are welcome. Bravo, right? Bravo, whatever. Turn this off.